We recently converted our property here in Mexico from 120 volt meters to 240 volts. I'm going to try and explain a little today on the differences, the pros and cons, and the costs to do so. If you're buying or building a home, then this is something you may want to or you may have to consider. I've tried to do some investigation on this topic previously with friends in town, and I had a good deal of difficulty getting a consensus on whether converting is worth the effort and what the benefits actually are. People still say 110 or 115 volt, 220 and 230, but I think the current accepted terminology is 120 and 240 volts. So for this little speech, that's what I'll be saying. First, a few simple basics. I'm a dumb guy, so I'm saying this for my benefit as much as I am for anyone else who's listening to this. A watt is a unit of power. A 100-watt light bulb uses more power than a 60-watt bulb. And actually an LED bulb will use about a sixth of the wattage, or 75% less energy, to produce the same amount of light as an incandescent bulb. So replace those old bulbs as they go out, because some LEDs will save you a lot of energy and they last 10 times or more longer too. Okay, so a watt is a unit of power. A volt is the potential for energy. So obviously 240 volts has more potential than 120 volts. And an amp is a unit of electric current measured in strength. It's how much electricity is flowing through the electrical wires to an item. The higher the amperage, the more dangerous. Watts equals amps times volts. For example, with the air conditioners we looked into purchasing, a 240 volt air conditioner consumes 1,000 watts and 4.5 amps. A 120 volt air conditioner consumes 950 watts and 8.5 amps. The math doesn't exactly work out, but maybe the numbers here are rounded up or down a bit. The pros and cons and differences between 120 volts and 240 volts, as far as I could see, are the following. 120 volts is less dangerous. With 240 volts, you use half the amps, so you can run a lot more appliances off of your breakers. It takes twice as much power to trip a breaker, and as a result, since less amps are required and less amps are flowing through your electrical wires, you can purchase less expensive and thinner wires with 240 volts. 240 volts supposedly can transmit power more cheaply because a smaller current is needed. Therefore, you're losing less energy via heat generated within the cables. Appliances that run on 240 volts may have a longer life because it takes less energy, less amps, to start them. I also read that if you use less than 5,000 watts total, then 120 volts is fine, but if you typically need more than 5,000 watts in your house, then you'll want to go with 240 volts. We ultimately were convinced to change to 240 volts from 120 volts because it would save us money in the long run. I doubt we'll ever know 100% if this conversion actually saves us money. And if I had to bet on it, I'd say it didn't save us any money. We have learned a lot though. We did not have a ground rod at our house previously, and now we have two. The ground rod allows for dangerous electricity to flow to the ground, taking the danger away from any person or the electric panel. My understanding is that all houses in Mexico are supposed to have these ground rods called tierra físicas, but many homes, like ours previously, do not. We paid 3,600 pesos to have the first ground rod installed before we even considered converting to 240 volts. A few months later, when we decided to convert to 240 volts, the electrician had to set another ground rod, as the first one then served no purpose. So, money well spent. This is the neighbor's house, and you see down here they've got this bar. This is what they call the Tierra Physica. This is our bar here, so you can see there. So that goes from there and up, and then connects to the meters over at the neighbor's place. And then here at our place, that's what we're having the guys do now, which will ground all of the outlets and make things a little bit safer. So they're going to run it right down there. They'll install this, and they've shut off the power inside, and they're working on doing all the installation. So we're going to see if we can learn how this is done. So he's testing out the box from here now. There's the long rod that they buried into the dirt here. So tomorrow he's going to come and run the line up to the box here, and then we're going to end up covering up this wall. So before we start to do that, they'll run the line, the hose, they call it the hose. They'll run it along this wall here and back around the corner and into the box. And they've already set everything up in here, so we should be good inside as soon as they do that with the Tierra Physica. So this is the new Tierra Physica line right here. That was the old one right down there that ran through here. And apparently I just talked to the guy, and he said this old line that the other electrician installed has no bearing anymore. So it was just kind of a waste of time and money probably. We hired someone with the electric company called CFE, or Commission, to change us over from 120 volts to 240 volts. He had to replace the cables running across the street from the telephone pole and install new meters. In Mexico, it's common to see a house with multiple meters attached to the front. Our house has 3 units, so we were able to get 3 meters. Our friends secured 4 meters for their 3-unit property. And sometimes a simple 2-bedroom house will have 2 meters. The benefit is that the more meters you have, it can help you keep your electric costs down. The electric company CFE is state-owned, so they subsidize power bills up to a certain amount of usage. The amount varies depending on the region within Mexico that you live in. And if you exceed this set amount, then your bill is substantially higher. It's like being in a higher income tax bracket. And once you're in it, it's really hard to get back out of it. So here's the cost for us to change our 3 meters to 240 volts, add the new breaker boxes, and run a new ground rod. We paid 24,000 pesos in material costs, which runs us about $1,200 US. We paid the CFE electrician 8,000 pesos to attach the meters to the house, plus our personal electrician 4,000 pesos to connect the new meters to each unit within the house and to install the new breaker boxes. So the total cost was about $1,800 US. For us, I think the benefit of 240 volts is that we have nice new meters, and we have a better understanding of how our electrical grid and which breaker boxes go to which connections within the house. We also have new breaker boxes, so that's has to have some benefit to it, I would assume. So, and we're now grounded, so we have a much safer house. It will look a lot nicer once we remove the old 120 volt wires that run from the telephone pole and connect right off of our balcony. And hopefully we'll get that done in the next week or two. If anyone else has any experience with this type of changeover, please let me know. We need help. If there's anything else we should be doing as we move forward with our project, we appreciate any feedback you can provide us. And if you're thinking of converting your home, I hope that this helps, and good luck. All right, thanks for watching. Take care.